Tell your mama dig her ass and post a picture that look better than my motherfucking mama. What's wrong with you?
With T.I.'s wife on Instagram, King Harris went off in the wildest way. He fired back by posting a picture of 50's mom's grave and said, "Go dig her up." That's beyond harsh.
Disrespecting T.I.'s family, more specifically T.I.'s wife, Tiny. 50 took to Instagram and posted a not so flattering photo of T.I.'s wife, Tiny.
Everyone knows 50 Cent doesn't let disrespect slide, and now he's coming straight for King Harris over that grave post. Things are spiraling fast and getting messy quick. So here's how it all kicked off, and posted a photo of Tiny Harris performing on stage. The picture looked rough, bad angle, harsh lighting, and it honestly made her look bad on purpose. It didn't seem random either. Knowing 50's track record, that choice was definitely intentional.
He posts a picture of Tiny, and he says, "I keep saying keep my name out your mouth," and puts up like a shrug emoji and says, "Okay."
And he didn't just throw it on his stories where it would disappear in 24 hours. Nah, he slapped it right on his main feed for everyone to see. Permanent. The kind of post that sits there, racking up comments and keeping drama alive every time someone scrolls by. Keep saying, "Keep my name out your mouth." No tags, no long rant, just a bold flick and those icy words. Instantly knew who he was talking about. It was a direct hit aimed at T.I. Wild part.
You wanna say something about my mama? Your mama dead as
Starting drama, she wasn't even near the situation. This was straight up 50 using her image as a chess piece to jab at T.I., all because T.I. kept bringing up that whole versus debate. Petty on a whole new level. Now let's make one thing crystal clear. Tiny Harris is not just T.I.'s wife. She's music royalty, a founding member of Escape, one of the biggest R&B groups from the 90s, dropping classics like Just Kicking It and Who Can I Run To. She's been putting in work for over 30 years. She's built her own empire. Money.
up. Go dig up. Post a picture of your mama because she dead. Pay respect.
Fame, TV shows, everything. And 50 tried to shrink all that down to one shady photo just to get under T.I.'s skin. Talk about disrespect. And then came that shrug emoji, the ultimate touch of arrogance. He tossed it in like it was no big deal, like posting another man's wife to his 30 million followers was just something he does before breakfast. That emoji was pure mockery, like he was saying, "Yeah, I did it, so what?" But that move lit a fire that spread fast.
Post my mama like your mama ain't dead as Go put some flowers on that grave.
Within hours, T.I.'s oldest son, King Harris, saw the post, and he didn't waste a second. No jokes, no slick memes, no cryptic shade. He went straight for the jugular. King dropped a comment right under 50's post, "Where your mama?" with the eyes emoji. Brutal. And if you know anything about 50's past, you understand why that hit different. His mother passed away back in 1983. She was murdered when he was just 8 years old. That's a deep wound, and King threw it right into the public eye for millions to see.
Posting my mama legend, your mama Jay.
But King didn't stop there. He took it way further. He jumped on his own Instagram and dropped a straight-up shocking post, a picture of Sabrina Jackson's actual headstone, 50 Cent's late mother's grave. Her name, her birth year, 1958, and death year, 1983, were all carved right into the stone.
So first, it was really about celebrating each other's catalog. Me and them talk back then.
King even tagged 50 directly and wrote, "Yo, dig up your mama." Then another version popped up with the caption, "This where your mama at?" It was cold, no sugarcoating. After that, he hopped in his car, hit record, and started going off on a full-blown rant across multiple Instagram stories. No filter, no plan, just raw anger pouring out like he couldn't hold it in anymore. Clip after clip, he kept firing shots, doubling down every time instead of cooling off.
Moving around in LA, man, selling some TV shows while we were around each other, man, you know what I mean? I said, "What you think about this?"
Then he circled right back to that grave photo, again, reposting it with another caption. "Hey, 50 Cent, this where your mama at?" He wasn't letting up for a second. It was clear. The line had been crossed, drawn deep in the sand for everyone watching. Think about it. 50 posted a picture of Tiny, and in response, King posted a photo of 50's mother's grave. Then he told a man who lost his mom at just 8 years old to dig her up. That's not regular trolling.
I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna jump out there first, and then you just gonna jump out there and we'll line it.
That's stepping into serious below-the-belt territory. King even shouted, "My mama a legend, your mama," and left it hanging like a punch to the gut. In just one night, the drama exploded from online shade to one of the most ruthless and personal beef moments hip-hop's seen in a long time. And the craziest part?
Pulled to go, and then goddamn, when I was talking to Swiss, you know, I was like, man.
All of this chaos, the grave posts, the insults, the rage, it all traces back to something that was supposed to be about music. This whole firestorm started from talk about a versus battle that never even happened. That's the wildest twist of it all. The entire foundation of this beef came from one conversation that allegedly went down in Los Angeles between T.I. and 50 Cent, when both were out there handling business, chasing film and TV deals, and moving through the same Hollywood circles.
2050, that's what I said. He don't want no smoke though. About that, act like he ain't know what the f going on.
So here's where things really started brewing. When somebody brought up the idea of a versus, T.I. said he and 50 actually sat down face to face and talked it out. According to T.I., they agreed on how everything would go down, the vibe, the setup, the whole plan. But then, out of nowhere, 50 Cent just ghosted him, like the conversation never even happened.
Look, I don't even want to, man, cause now I question your character.
No call, no text, no follow-up, just silence. T.I. later laid it all out on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast with Gilly the King and Wallow 267. He broke down the story step by step, keeping it real and detailed. He said the vision was supposed to be clean, two Southern legends stepping up to celebrate their catalogs. No beef, no shade, no ego, just classic records, real bars, and respect for the culture.
Man, that ain't gonna happen. That shit ain't gonna happen, man. I don't want to stand on stage.
While they were both in L.A., moving around the entertainment scene, pitching TV and film ideas, T.I. said everything between them seemed cool. They were vibing, talking business, and 50 seemed fully down for the idea. The way T.I. told it, they even had a whole game plan worked out. T.I. would be the first to go public, call 50 out for a versus battle, and then 50 would back it up publicly, co-sign it, and keep the hype rolling. It was supposed to be a smooth setup, a win-win moment for hip-hop fans everywhere. And T.I. did his part.
Just standing on stage with that. I don't respect.
He didn't stall or back out. He went on Shannon Sharp's Nightcap podcast and dropped 50 Cent's name right into the versus conversation. Bold move. On that show, T.I. made it crystal clear that he wanted that matchup. He wanted the challenge, the spotlight, and the energy. And he flat out said he felt like 50 was ducking the smoke. But when T.I. made the first move like they planned, 50 totally switched up. He left T.I. hanging, acting like that whole conversation never even happened. He played it off like T.I. was just some random rapper calling him out for clout with zero backstory. That's when T.I.'s frustration flipped. It wasn't about the verses anymore. It became about 50's character.
My mother passed when I was like 8 years old. I went to live with my grandparents. And she had me when she was 15.
From that moment on, the vibe completely changed. For T.I., this wasn't just music industry drama. This was personal. He felt betrayed, not by a rival, but by someone he thought he had a mutual understanding with. T.I. was like, if you don't want to do it, cool, just say that. Be real about it. But agreeing in private, then acting brand new when the cameras are rolling, that's what cut deep. You could hear it in T.I.'s tone. The respect was gone. He went from wanting to share the stage with 50 Cent to wanting absolutely nothing to do with him. Not as collaborators, not as peers, not even as two men who could stand in the same room together. That's how bad it got.
At that point, she started hustling to be able to provide for me at that point.
Then T.I. dropped one line that exploded across every blog, every headline, and every comment section online. It was the quote that officially shifted the energy of the beef. But from 50 Cent's point of view, the situation looked completely different. See, 50 had been brushing off the whole versus concept for years. He called it something that only mattered during lockdown, saying it had its moment during the pandemic and that he'd already moved on to bigger things.
She got killed when I was like 8 years old.
So when you say hustling, she was involved with what? She was
selling drugs.
selling drugs?
Yeah.
50 was deep in his TV and film bag, Power, BMF, and a stack of new projects on deck. He was chasing brand deals and expanding his empire. The man hadn't dropped an album since 2014, and in his eyes, music wasn't the main hustle anymore. It was just a chapter he'd already closed. When it came to T.I.'s call-outs, 50 Cent's replies were pure vintage 50, short, cold, and dripping with that trademark trolling energy. He flooded Instagram with posts saying, "Keep my name out your mouth." Same caption, different memes, all topped off with that smug shrug emoji.
Let me ask you a question, man. Do you feel any type of pressure?
They say pressure make diamond.
Every post made it look like T.I. was desperate for attention, while 50 was too unbothered to care. But then things took a sharp, ugly turn when 50 started calling T.I. King Rat in the comments. That's serious talk. In street terms, accusing somebody of working with law enforcement is one of the lowest blows you can throw. T.I. wasn't about to let that slide. He clapped back instantly, firing off a post saying, "You playing with my name when only one of us a rat in real life." Then he doubled down, writing, "You know I got your paperwork, right?"
I'm saying I don't fold under pressure, I apply under pressure.
That boy quick on his feet, ain't he?
Yeah, I'm the more, as he was saying, I'm him when he made his most mistakes.
He basically dared 50 to either step into the versus ring or shut up for good. By the time February 22nd hit, this beef had been simmering for weeks. Podcasts, interviews, shady comments, and non-stop subliminals flying both ways. What was supposed to be a versus battle to celebrate two legendary catalogs had now mutated into a full-blown feud, nasty enough to drag innocent family members into it. And that's where the story of Sabrina Jackson comes in, the part that made everybody in hip-hop pause when King Harris crossed the line.
Let my son get his, build his, like, him able to keep his own attention span.
Because once you understand who Sabrina Jackson really was, you realize why that post hit so painfully deep. This isn't the story of a celebrity's mom who passed peacefully and got a fancy funeral surrounded by flowers. Nah, this was different. Sabrina Jackson's life ended in tragedy, and her killer was never caught. She wasn't just anyone. She was a young woman from South Jamaica, Queens, born around 1958, hustling to survive in a tough neighborhood. At just 15 years old, she gave birth to Curtis Jackson, the boy who would one day become 50 Cent. From day one, Sabrina was doing it on her own.
Playing like that, going like that. How y'all raised? I'm not raised like that. I don't go. I'm not going back my mom.
No partner, no help. Just a teenage mother fighting to provide and keep her son safe in a world that didn't show much mercy. Her story set the foundation for everything that made 50 Cent who he is, and that's exactly why King's post cut so deep across the entire culture. No partner, no co-parent, just a teenage girl in one of the toughest neighborhoods in New York, trying to survive and keep her baby alive. Every day was a fight just to make sure little Curtis had something to eat and a place to sleep. To keep a roof over their heads, Sabrina made a choice a lot of people in her situation felt forced into. She got into the drug game.
My son then jumped in the mix. I ain't even mad at him for defending his mom. Now, do I think that this will go to some crazy level of some? No.
This was South Jamaica, Queens, right in the middle of the early crack era, a time when the streets were wild and survival meant doing whatever you had to do. The late 70s and early 80s were brutal, especially for a young, single black mother with no real options. The hustle wasn't a choice, it was survival. 50 Cent has opened up about his mom plenty of times throughout his career, and every story paints the same picture. Sabrina Jackson was built different. She was tough as steel, no softness, no sugarcoating, and no hand-holding.
Tiny or T.I. is definitely going to check him on that because they not them type of people.
She ran her home with the same authority she commanded on the block, strict, fearless, and never backing down. In his own words, she was both my mother and my father. He shared stories that really show her mindset, like the time she would stuff toys into socks to make makeshift weapons so he could protect himself at school. That was her way of saying, you gotta be ready for the world out there. Another memory he told was about the time he was crying on the floor as a kid, and Sabrina told him straight up to get up and stop acting like a little girl.
First of all, when Super Ugly came out and we heard it, everybody was like, you corny.
It might sound harsh, but that was her version of love. The only way she knew how to raise a boy in an environment where weakness could get you hurt. She was teaching survival, not comfort. Then came 1983, the year everything changed forever. Sabrina Jackson was killed. She was only around 24 or 25 years old, and Curtis was just 8. The way she died still haunts people to this day, and the case has stayed unsolved for over 4 decades. According to 50 Cent's own interviews, going all the way back to the mid-2000s, someone slipped something into her drink to knock her out, then turned on the gas inside her apartment deliberately. It was cold, calculated, and tragic beyond words, the kind of loss that shaped who 50 became for the rest of his life. She died from carbon monoxide poisoning mixed with the flames that followed, a horrifying scene that instantly screamed foul play. When police arrived, they knew right away this wasn't some tragic accident. The gas lines had been tampered with, and the victim had clearly been drugged, all signs of a setup. But even with all that evidence, no one was ever arrested, not a single suspect named, no motive revealed, nothing. More than 42 years later, the case still sits ice cold. No official reports have ever surfaced, no coroner findings, no updates, no follow-ups. Every detail the public knows about Sabrina Jackson's death comes straight from 50 Cent himself, retelling the story as an adult, looking back on the darkest moment of his childhood. After Sabrina's death, 8-year-old Curtis was taken in by his grandparents, his grandmother Beulah Jackson and his grandfather, in the same rough South Jamaica neighborhood where his mom had fought to raise him. Their home was small and packed with about 8 other relatives under one roof, but it was all he had left. His biological father had already disappeared long before Sabrina's death, so his grandparents became his world. 50 Cent has said in countless interviews that losing his mother changed everything about him. Every time life got hard, he'd think, if my mother was here, it wouldn't be like this. That thought followed him through every struggle, every moment of pain, every success. To honor her memory, he got a tattoo on his right forearm that reads Sabrina with Ghetto Angel inked beside it, a forever reminder of the woman who raised him, protected him, and shaped him before she was taken away far too soon. Sabrina Jackson's final resting place is Rockville Cemetery in Lynbrook, Nassau County, New York. That exact grave, the one marking her life, her legacy, and her tragedy, is the same one King Harris found, photographed, and threw up on Instagram for the world to see. That's the headstone he blasted online, tagging 50 Cent and saying, "Dig your mama up." Millions of people saw that post, and it instantly sent shockwaves through social media. It wasn't just disrespect, it was a direct hit to one of the most painful chapters in 50's entire life. And that's why everyone's asking the same question: what made King Harris go that far? King Harris is just 21 years old, but his name's been ringing bells his whole life. His full name is Clifford King Harris Jr., the eldest biological son of T.I. and Tiny Harris, born August 26, 2004 in Atlanta, Georgia. From the minute he came into this world, he was already living under the spotlight. No private childhood, no low profile, just non-stop cameras and public attention because of who his parents are and the empire they built. King literally grew up on TV. By the time T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, premiered in 2011, he was already used to having cameras in the house, following every move his family made. He saw his dad handle everything: industry beefs, court cases, business deals, and public controversy, all while being filmed for millions to watch. And on the flip side, he watched his mom, Tiny Harris, get her flowers as one of the founding members of Escape, one of the coldest R&B groups from the 90s. She was both a star and the rock of the entire Harris family.
He's never been in any of our vehicles. So, that was just him just grasping at things and just trying to, make an instant comeback.
Growing up in that world shaped King's whole identity. He's been trying to carve out his own lane in music, going by the name Kid Sin, dropping singles and freestyles that sound exactly like the world he was raised in. flashy, confident, and raw. But no matter how hard he pushes his own path, the public always labels him the same way, T.I.'s son. The firstborn boy in one of hip-hop's most recognizable families, and the one always ready to step up when it comes to defending his mom. King's spoken plenty of times about how heavy that pressure gets, the comparisons, the expectations, the judgment. Everywhere he goes, people are watching, waiting for him to slip or live up to his father's name. That microscope follows him in every interview, every post, every move. And T.I. himself has admitted he sees a lot of his younger self in King, especially the wild, rebellious version that made the most mistakes. It's like looking in a mirror of his past, and even he said that trying to guide King is like trying to teach himself the lessons he learned the hard way. Even with all that weight on his shoulders, King Harris isn't just somebody's kid anymore. He's a father now too. He's got a son of his own, and he's spoken openly about wanting to raise him with the same strength, pride, and independence that his parents drilled into him growing up. You can tell he wants his little one to be tough, smart, and ready for the world, just like he was taught. So when 50 Cent posted that rough, unflattering photo of Tiny Harris, the woman King's called a legend time and time again, something deep inside him snapped. That wasn't just a celebrity being messy online. That was his mom, a woman he's seen grind for decades, building her own name while holding her whole family together. King didn't sit down and think it through. There was no PR team, no calculated response, no pause for damage control. It was pure emotion, an instant explosive reaction from a son watching a grown man with 30 million followers clown his mother online. In that moment, logic went out the window and instinct took over. And here's the thing, reacting itself wasn't the problem. Most people would have been furious if someone publicly disrespected their mom. Any son with a post would have felt the same rage. But the issue was how far he took it. Instead of keeping it about 50's attitude, the versus drama, of firing back with sharp words, King went straight to the darkest, most off-limits place imaginable. He tracked down 50 Cent's late mother's grave, Sabrina Jackson's headstone, and blasted it on the internet for millions to see. That move shocked everybody. It crossed from emotional reaction to something that felt cold and cruel, a line that shouldn't have been crossed no matter how heated things got. And then came the contradiction that made it hit even harder. In the middle of all that chaos, King said, "I wasn't raised like that." But in the same breath, he told a man to go dig up his mother's remains. The irony was heavy because those words showed just how lost in anger he really was in that moment. King tried to stand on moral high ground, but he did it while sinking into one of the deepest moral holes imaginable. In hip-hop, there's an unspoken rule that everyone knows. You never disrespect someone's dead parent. That's sacred ground. Even in a culture built on disses and rivalries, that line just isn't supposed to be crossed. One YouTuber who covered the situation said he understood King's anger. It was real and raw, but he predicted that some serious parental accountability was coming behind closed doors. He said he wouldn't be surprised if T.I. and Tiny pulled King aside privately and had a tough conversation, because no matter how justified King's emotions were, that grave post went too far. Even the Harris family, known for standing together, probably wouldn't back that move publicly.
Then decided to go on his Instagram page and promote a new track. And this track somewhat sounds like he's dissing 50.
And honestly, hip-hop has a long history of family members getting dragged into beefs, and it almost never ends well. Think about Tupac, who famously shouted out, "I slept with your wife, Faith," and hit him up. That one line turned the East Coast-West Coast tension into something deeply personal. Then there was Jay-Z, who fired shots at Nas by getting graphic about Nas's child's mother, Carmen Bryant, on Super Ugly. That was such a brutal low blow that Jay-Z's own mother called Hot 97 live on air and made him apologize publicly. Even Carmen Bryant herself later spoke about the fallout, the pain, the damage, and how it changed everything for her and for their families. She said Jay-Z regretted releasing that track almost immediately after it dropped, realizing he'd let his emotions run the show. What was supposed to be a power move in a rap war turned into years of baggage that haunted his legacy. And that's where the parallel to King Harris comes in clear as day. When someone feels like their family's been attacked, the instinct is always the same: to strike back hard and fast. The emotions take over, and suddenly it's not about music or pride anymore. It's about revenge. But once that fire cools, you're left with the question that always hits afterward. What happens next? What comes after that kind of escalation when there's no way to take it back? The fallout always hits harder than the fury that caused it. Whether it's backlash, regret, or both, that wave almost always overshadows the anger that started everything. Jay-Z learned that lesson back in 2001. One line too far, one track too personal, and suddenly the entire conversation shifts. The question now is, will King Harris learn that same lesson in 2026, or will history repeat itself? While the internet was still spinning from King's shocking grave post and his heated video rants, T.I. decided to step into the storm himself, and he came swinging. Within hours of his son's outburst, T.I. hit the studio late on February 22nd, rolling right into the early hours of February 23rd, 2026, and cooked up a brand new diss track that sounded like a straight declaration of war. And he didn't just work with anyone. The beat came from DJ Toomp, the same legendary producer behind some of T.I.'s biggest classics, What You Know, Bring 'Em Out, and a whole catalog of Southern trap anthems that helped define a generation. The chemistry was still there, sharp, electric, and dangerous. This new track carried that same menacing T.I. energy fans recognized instantly. Dark, brooding synths layered over booming 808s and crisp trap drums that hit like a warning shot. The beat alone sounded like something you play when you're ready to burn bridges and make statements. T.I. wasn't joking this time. The man was clearly on a mission. Then, just hours later, he dropped a short preview on Instagram, sending the internet into another frenzy. The caption read, "OU needs 66 ass want war. 8. We on that. Got a right one this time." Then he added the infamous duck emoji, a deliberate jab referencing his old comments calling 50 Cent a duck, slang for somebody who dodges confrontation and hides behind excuses. T.I. made it clear the jokes were done and the battle lines were officially drawn. The hashtag he added hinted that this time he felt like he finally had the perfect reason and the perfect target to unleash his lyrical fury. The snippet was short, maybe 60 to 70 seconds, but that was all it took. You could hear T.I. spitting with that fiery Atlanta-bred cadence that made him one of the South's sharpest voices back in his trap music days. Every bar sounded like a warning, confident, aggressive, and ice cold. Fans flooded the comments instantly, some hyped to see T.I. back in full battle mode, others shocked that he was doubling down instead of de-escalating. But one thing was crystal clear, this wasn't just music anymore, this was personal.
Direct names, it might just be a cut off his upcoming album because the album's title is Kill the King.
By sunrise, the internet was on fire. Clips from T.I.'s diss track preview were everywhere, reposted, remixed, dissected line by line across every major platform. Hip-hop blogs were calling it the calm before the storm, while fans flooded comment sections picking sides, half chanting Team T.I., the other half screaming 50 still runs it. It was chaos, digital warfare in real time. But right in the middle of all that noise, 50 Cent finally responded. Not with a verse, but with a move only 50 would make. He hopped on Instagram, posted a black and white photo of himself laughing in the studio, and captioned it, "He finally wrote one? Took long enough." That single line detonated across the internet like a bomb. He didn't need a full response. That smug energy was enough to stir the pot even more. Within hours, the memes started rolling in. Fans photoshopping mock versus posters, others clowning both sides, and even a few celebrities chiming in with jokes and cryptic emojis. The internet was eating it up. But behind the entertainment value, insiders claimed both camps were tightening their circles. T.I. was reportedly working with producers day and night, fine-tuning what he called the real response, while 50 was allegedly gearing up to go visual, teasing a possible short film-style reply. Meanwhile, King Harris went quiet. No new posts, no comments, no stories, just silence. People close to the Harris family said T.I. and Tiny had sat him down for a serious talk, not about the music, but about the morality of it all. One insider said it wasn't about embarrassment, it was about perspective. They needed him to understand what that post really meant. Despite that, the narrative online had already evolved. What started as a family reaction to a petty photo had morphed into one of the most explosive hip-hop feuds of the decade, one that blurred the lines between legacy, loyalty, and loss. Fans weren't just watching a beef anymore, they were watching generations clash. By February 25th, whispers started circulating that 50 Cent had booked studio time in New York, the same studio where he recorded Get Rich or Die Trying. People close to him said he wasn't just planning to reply, he was crafting something cinematic. He wanted to remind everyone why he's one of the most feared names in the industry. So now the stage was set. Atlanta versus Queens, OG versus icon, father versus legend. And somewhere in the middle of it all sat King Harris, watching the monster his impulse created take on a life of its own. The game had changed. This wasn't about a picture anymore. This was about pride, legacy, and two empires ready to collide for the world to see. Even though the full lyrics weren't officially transcribed yet, since T.I. only dropped a preview clip, the message was loud and clear. The bars were all about respect, retaliation, and family loyalty. You could hear it in his tone, that raw edge that said he was ready to go the distance for his people, no matter the cost. And even though he never mentioned 50 Cent's name directly, every single person who heard that snippet knew exactly who he was aiming at. There was no confusion. The target was crystal clear. Now, some folks inside the culture started speculating immediately. A few believed the track might have already existed, maybe a leftover cut from T.I.'s upcoming album that he decided to unleash at the perfect time. The timing, they said, was too precise to be random. Others were convinced it was a fresh from the booth moment, a spontaneous burst of energy after watching his son light up Instagram and realizing things had gone way too far. But either way, one thing was obvious: the drop was calculated. You don't release a war-themed record hours after your son posts a picture of a deceased woman's headstone unless you're intentionally stepping into the fire. That wasn't coincidence, that was strategy. And it instantly raised the question: was T.I. trying to control the narrative, or was he fanning the flames? The hip-hop world split right down the middle over it. On one side, people saluted T.I. for handling business like a real MC, keeping the response where it belongs, in the music. They said that's how true lyricists settle things, not through endless social media rants, but through bars that leave a mark in hip-hop history. After all, diss tracks are part of the culture's DNA. They take all that rage and pride and turn it into something permanent, something artistic.
So I think that, that is more of a way for them to check him on the space of like how you carry yourself versus how this carries himself. Now, we all could agree, let's keep it 1,000. That shit 50 did.
Fans were quick to make comparisons too. Pusha T had done it with the story of Adidon, Kendrick Lamar shook the world with Meet the Grams, and now T.I. was stepping up to carry that same torch with War. His pen had always been sharp, and people were ready to see if he could still draw blood with it. But the other half of the internet wasn't impressed. They saw it completely differently. Critics said T.I. wasn't diffusing anything. Instead, he was co-signing his son's chaos. They argued that instead of pulling King aside, checking him privately, and shutting down the grave incident before it spiraled even worse, T.I. ran to the studio and turned the whole family mess into a musical spectacle. To them, it felt less like fatherly protection and more like public escalation. What was supposed to be a teachable moment had now turned into the next viral hip-hop event, with millions watching and waiting for 50 Cent's next move. By the time the sun rose on February 23rd, the world had officially tuned in. The snippets of T.I.'s War was spreading like wildfire. Twitter or X, YouTube, TikTok, every corner of the internet had it on repeat. Hip-hop fans, bloggers, and even old-school legends were jumping in to weigh their opinions. Some called it a bold masterstroke, a father reclaiming control through art. Others called it tone deaf, accusing T.I. of using music to mask a family scandal that had already gone too far. But the person who had everyone waiting on edge was 50 Cent. For a man known to clap back at the smallest slight, the silence was deafening. No post, no meme, no story, just quiet. And when 50's quiet, that's when you really start to worry. Industry insiders began whispering that 50 was loading up, working behind closed doors on something massive. One producer from his camp teased online, "You think he not gonna respond? He's just waiting for the right moment to shut it all down." Meanwhile, inside the Harris household, tension was thick. Sources close to the family said T.I. and Tiny had very different takes on how things unfolded. Tiny was reportedly heartbroken, not just over the disrespect from 50's post, but over the fallout that followed. One insider claimed she'd been urging T.I. to protect the family, not the image. But Tip, being the strategist he is, believed the only way to flip the narrative was to own it, to turn pain into power through music, even if it meant fueling more drama. As the clip from War continued to trend, analysts started digging into the lyrics that could be heard. One line in particular got the internet buzzing. T.I. rapped something that hinted at raising soldiers, not trolls. Fans speculated that was a subtle shot at his own son, a way of saying, "I taught you better than this." Others argued it was a coded warning to 50, telling him that the Harris family stood united no matter how messy things looked. Either way, the line hit deep and had everyone decoding every syllable. By late afternoon, reports surfaced that 50 Cent had entered a Manhattan studio. Cameras spotted him pulling up in an all-black SUV with his trademark smirk and a cup of coffee. The caption on one fan video said it all, "Oh, it's go time." The internet went into full countdown mode, convinced that whatever 50 was about to drop next would be nuclear. As the night fell, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a spat anymore. This was two titans, two eras, two entire families on a collision course for the culture's front page. Every tweet, every leak, every cryptic post was part of a larger game neither side could afford to lose. And in the middle of it all, King Harris, 21 years old, a father himself, suddenly realizing the monster he'd helped awaken, a storm too big to control, too public to escape, and too personal to ignore. Man, things got messy. It looked like the entire Harris camp was going all in, the son attacking through the grave post and the father firing back through the mic. It was chaos from every direction, with emotions, egos, and family pride all colliding in real time. You could feel the tension pulsing through the culture. Every headline, every repost, every lyric added another layer to the storm. But no matter which side people stood on, almost everyone agreed on one thing, the spark that lit this fire. 50 Cent was the one who drew first blood. He's the one who threw the first jab by posting that shady picture of Tiny Harris, knowing exactly what kind of reaction it would trigger. And from that moment, everything snowballed. What made it even wilder is that T.I. had been keeping things respectful up to that point. For weeks, he kept the talk centered on music. He spoke about verses, about hit records, about catalogs and legacy, not personal attacks, not family drama, not street gossip. He was talking competition, skill, and artistry, the way hip-hop battles are supposed to be. But 50's post flipped the entire tone. That single image turned a friendly challenge into a full-blown war, and from there, it spiraled into something darker, something no one could have predicted. Families got dragged, emotions got raw, and before long, what started as a debate about music became one of the most talked about beefs in modern hip-hop history. And that's the irony. If 50 had kept it about the music, if King hadn't reacted from the gut, if T.I. hadn't felt the need to fire back so fast, maybe things would have played out differently. Maybe we'd be talking about a legendary versus battle instead of one of the most controversial beefs the culture's seen in years. No matter what side you're on, one thing's clear. This moment reminded everyone just how powerful words, posts, and pride can be when fame and family collide. Whether you see it as art, chaos, or both, this story will be remembered for a long time. And that wraps it up for this wild breakdown. What do you think? Did 50 take it too far, or did the Harris family overreact? Who do you think really crossed the line? Drop your thoughts below. We're reading every comment. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment to keep this conversation going. And don't forget to click one of the boxes on your screen to check out more of our breakdowns. There's plenty more drama, culture, and music stories just like this one waiting for you.